Hello, mutants. I'm Utisha, the movie goddess, and you're watching Mutant TV.
Dun dun dun! Welcome back, MVP. Streebo here with you. Thought we'd do a couple quick Friday the 13th collector's corners with you. So I brought you some cool things. You see an image here in front of you from one of my favorite installments in the Friday the 13th franchise. This one being Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. Which, by the way, you can see my complete review of right here on the Mutantville Players YouTube channel with special guest J.H. Reaper from the IMDb. Check it out right here on YouTube. Very cool video. But today we are going to talk about collectibles, specifically collectible books. So I have decided to share with you guys my top 10 most valuable collectible horror books. These are horror reference books, what have you. And you're going to see one magazine. Now to start with, I've decided to give you guys a baseline of value. Okay, so this particular book, Friday the 13th, Crystal Lake Memories, the complete history of Friday the 13th. Get that lined up for you there. This particular book is not on the list. So it's going to be 10 books after this one, but this is our baseline. Currently you can get this used on Amazon for $19.99 plus shipping and handling for roughly $24. So that's our starting baseline. All the books I'm going to share with you are worth more than this one. Okay, now to determine value, we're using the Amazon guidelines as the going rate for right now, okay? Because it's the leading seller on the internet right now. It's the authority site on the internet. It makes it more the most accurate pricing guide out there today. So that's what we're going to use as the authority on this particular video. This is a really cool book, by the way. I think there's a reissue of it coming out that covers the Friday the 13th remake, because this one is from 2005, but it's just full of great photos and stuff. It actually is devalued just a touch in price since I bought it. I think I got it for about $30 plus shipping and handling, so maybe $35. So it's dropped down a bit if you can get it for $24 now. Alright, number 10 from 2002, Going to Pieces, The Rise and Fall of the Slasher Film, 1978 to 1986, by Adam Rockoff. Now this one, you should at least be familiar with the title, because they made a really cool documentary out of it. And I don't want to be the horror hipster or whatever, but I had the book way before the documentary, so I was clued into that from the beginning. But it made for a great documentary. It's one of my favorites, especially on the the whole slasher film era, the 80s horror era. That was a special era. The video explosion, all that stuff. This is a cool book. It's very heavy on reference. Has cool photos throughout, but real heavy on information. So it is exactly what it says it is. Now the going rate for this is $30. It's dropped a little bit in price. I think I actually paid $40 for it at the time. I think there's an updated version of it that came out, or it got a reprinting or something since then, so maybe that's why this one dropped in price just a little bit, but it was well worth the price. Okay, number 9 from 1975, The Making of King Kong, going rate $33. Okay, so this is the low end going rate, with the upper ends going up higher, but $33. So it's pretty good for a book from 1975. Now mind you, all of these books they could if they weren't rare, they could just as easily be 1 cent or $1 on Amazon. So to find them at these rates, this represents the true value of them, the true scarcity, true rarity. That's what makes them cool to collect. But mind you, I don't actually collect them for their value. I collect them because I want to read them or look at the pictures. You know, these are great reference books, and they're just filled with fantastic photos and information. Really good stuff. And mind you, now if any of these strike your fancy, you can get them off of Amazon right now. But you're going to have to pay the prices we're talking about. Now you might get lucky and score them off of eBay or something. Now me personally, I think I got this at a thrift store. So we're talking $1 or $2 or something. Yeah. Super cheap. Yeah, I think I paid $2 for it. As nonfiction, $2, $33. Very cool. And up next we have from another book from 2002. 2002 was obviously the horror explosion, the year that it all blew up. That last Renaissance wave that we had. 2002, Eaten Alive, Italian cannibal and zombie movies. Yeah, baby. Check that bad boy out. It isn't fear that tears you apart. It's them. This one's currently going for $34. Not a huge jump in price between this one and Making of King Kong. But again, compare it to books like Book of the Dead or zombie movies or something like that, and they're going for a much lower rate. So again, the rarity and scarcity is represented here. And this one's full of great photos, and whoa, that was a lot of naked photos. I gotta be careful here. We don't want to get this particular video yanked from YouTube. Oh, this is a good one. Terra in El Spacio. It's Mario Bava's Planet of the Vampires, but apparently with the Italian title of Terror in Space. Very cool movie, by the way, if you haven't ever seen it. I believe it is still featured on Mutantville.com in the Scary Movie Saturday section, because it has been played there on multiple occasions. This is a very cool book. Oh my god, now there's some horror for you. Check out this chick's armpit. Yeah, that's real. Scary stuff. Great photos all throughout that. I gotta be careful showing you guys too much. I'm gonna show you something crazy and get this video in trouble. So we'll keep things moving right along. See Ursula Andress there. I actually haven't seen that. What is that? Mountain of the Cannibal God? And then, of course, the Beyond there in the back. Whoa, I'm losing my focus. There we go. I had to go with a little bit lower light on this one because I was getting really bad glare on the books. So I apologize for any kind of focus issues I have, or if it seems too dark at points. I had to use less light. It was just the glare was so distracting. There you go. Eaten Alive, $34. Up next from 2004, Legacy of Blood. Dun, dun, dun. By Jim Harper. Makes for nice bookends with Going to Pieces. Got a nice image there on the cover from Lucio Fulci's New York Ripper. Very greasy, grimy, crazy movie. That one has a few alternate titles, none of which are coming to mind at the moment. But New York Ripper, very greasy stuff. You know it well, I'm sure. House on Sorority Road, Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Again, Legacy of Blood, it's the story of the slasher film. Here it says it on the back. Slasher movie is the bloodiest incarnation of the modern horror film, tainted by criticisms of misogyny, yet remaining on and off a box office draw for 30 years. Combining in-depth analysis with over 200 film reviews, Legacy of Blood is the most comprehensive examination of slasher movie and its conventions to date. Which is actually very true. This is, along with Going to Pieces, this is one that really lays out the four kind of laws or guidelines of slasher films, like the final girl, the ineffective authority figures, the isolated setting, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, $40 if you want to find out about that. Very cool book, Jim Harper, filled with, again, a lot of info and cool photos. Yeah, some of these, I'm not really going to hurt myself too much trying to show you some of these black and white photos, but just to give you an idea. Okay, this next one, now this is interesting because the book is from 98. It's reprint from 98, but it came out a little bit earlier. I think 95 was the first printing. You can see the price right there on the cover, $10, if I can get it to focus. Okay. Killing for Culture. So yeah, that's why I paid for it at Ed McKay's, which is where I scored a lot of these Creation Cinema books. I guess they're out of a publishing, they're from a publishing company out of the UK. These are really crazy books. I'm not even going to open this one. The cover image is bad enough. This particular one is full of a lot of snuff stuff. It's the illustrated history of death film from Mondo to Snuff. It's #1 in that particular series, but this is a good series. This Creation Cinema series. They did a lot of other good ones like Bad Blood about serial killers, and they did one on House of Horror about the Hammer Films studio, obviously. And I just kicked the camera. Bunch of others, The Sisterhood, all kinds of crazy stuff. But Killing for Culture, going rate $37. Okay, for the low end, but that's from, mind you, this is on Amazon. Comparing the first couple rates, the second rating goes right up to $55, and the $37 rating is from essentially a disreputable seller. They've got bad feedback already, so you run a risk at trying to buy anything from them. And plus, once that's gone, boom, it's automatically 55. So that's why we gave it a nice high ranking. All right, now we're seeing kind of the separation from the $30, $40 range. And we're going to jump up a little bit higher here. And again, I don't buy these for their value. I buy them because I wanted to read them. $10. And it's cool to come across these things. My tips for book hunting, which is something I've been doing for like 20 years. Like ever since I left school, I've spent like every day reading books and just scouring bookstores for new reference books. It's just, who knew that was what was going to happen? But anyway, this was a good find for $10. All right, up next. Now this is an interesting selection because it's a magazine, a copy of Fangoria, actually. Fangoria number 23. Check that bad boy out. From 1982. Featuring on the cover, obviously, if you can't figure out what that is, you are a primitive screwhead. Fangoria 23 going for $50 on Amazon. $50. You might be able to find it cheaper on eBay. I think I did. I got it much cheaper. I think maybe $5, and it might even have been part of a larger haul, a larger lot with a lot of other issues. So I don't know, but I got it for a real steal. The recent Fangoria fire in 2007 really helped the value of a lot of the Fangoria books, but it made it harder on the back issue collectors. They all kind of jumped up in price to around at least the $10-15 range, almost for every issue. So they're getting pricey. You have to find somebody that's liquidating their collection and get it on the cheap if you want to get them for a good deal now. But here's number 23 for $50. This is a real classic issue too. Just classic. There we go, House of Horror. I was just talking about that book, Complete Story of Hammer Films. Is that the same book? Yeah, I guess so. Very cool. The Pit and the Pen. What is this? I have no idea what that feature is about. Oh, there we go. Toby Hooper on Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist. Arguably his two greatest films, although I'm sure there are a lot of Salem's Lot pundits out there, as well as Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 fans. And heck, I'm sure even Life Force has its own little constituency. Ah, there we go. There's a good one. Evil Dead. Let's see if I can get that. Now there's a good example. Filmmakers take note. None of these production stills were actually shot on the set of Evil Dead. They staged all of these afterwards. They, these guys were doing it practically guerrilla style at the time. They didn't have somebody dedicated to stills, so here you go. This is what you got. They came up with the production stills later, and they really helped because everybody remembers these covers. But this does not appear in the movie. Good stuff. The back cover was always nice. I'm a big Fango fan. It was always kind of the holy grail of horror items in my childhood. At least at my age and my experience at the time, it didn't seem like there were a lot of reference books on horror out then. So the only thing that was really in my world that shared these kind of images, this real horrific and brutal and violent imagery, aside from the news and newspapers, was Fangoria. And this was the only place you could see it mixed with the fantastic elements, like the creatures and whatnot. Awesome image there from Halloween 3. Good stuff. $50. Fangoria 23. Alright, we're going to jump up just a little bit more. Boom, boom. This is from 1979. Bernie Wrightson, A Look Back. Check that bad boy out. 1979, oversized a book like that. Let me see if I can get that to focus a little better for you. Just look at the detail. And also the macabre genius behind it. Like the rope through the mouth, the head on the stake, the decapitated head. I mean, disturbing stuff. The casual way he's laying over it all. The intimacy with him and the severed head. A lot of disturbing notions in that one image. That's a master storyteller for you. Anyone that's a film director of any kind would be well served to study comic books and sequential illustrations, because it's just some of the tightest storytelling you'll find anywhere in any medium, and there's so many applications that transfer over to film. So this here you go. It's visually engaging. It tells a story in one image. It's haunting. It's disturbing. The draftsmanship is impeccable. The craftsmanship is flawless. That's just the cover image here. Let's look at the back. There's a lot of great images inside. This is the back cover. This book is heavy too. You hear it every time I set it down. I'm not throwing it. It's got some weight behind it. Oh, check this out. Guy's looking at his reflection, but his reflection is a werewolf in the water. Wicked. That is from Moonpool, apparently, from 1976. A lot of good stuff. Oh, look at this. Here's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre image. Man, if I can get that up straight there. Here we go. See it a little better. Trying not to obscure the camera with my other arm. Wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah, Bernie Wrightson, A Look Back. $84. So here we see a bit of a jump, separation towards the upper end. This is number 4. Number 4. A look back, $84, and I think it tops out probably about $150, maybe even $200. Maybe I'm misremembering, but $84 is as cheap as you're gonna find it. I was really fortunate when I got it. $20 at a used bookstore. Again, college towns are your friend. Go to college towns and you'll find a used bookstore nearby where people are always trading stuff in, and you just find the most amazing little gems. Again, I didn't grab this because I thought it would be worth a lot. I grabbed it because I am obviously a Bernie Wrightson fan. The guy created Swamp Thing, the visual look of Swamp Thing anyway, and obviously a lot of the horror elements to it, but fantastic artist. Comes to Heroes Con a lot. Very cool dude. Alright, up next, the hardback 2007 edition Nightmare USA. Currently going for $123. Topping out at a very, very robust $343. Very solid book. I scored it fairly early on in its run, I guess. But I think I had to put out about $50 for it. But then it went out of print, and it's really, obviously, it's at least doubled, almost tripled in price at minimum. The Untold Story of Exploitation Independence. This is the hardback. So this is a sweet, sweet edition. Now I got to be careful showing you guys pictures from this one too. A lot of black and whites. There's some colors mixed throughout. Here you go. You get some of the poster artwork. Black Devil Doll from Hell. Hold that straight there for you. There's some of the color stuff. The Horror Star. I can honestly say I've never heard of that one before. That's what makes books like this so cool. You know, you you just discover little gems you would have never heard of before. And look at these taglines. I mean, this is part of film school right here. It should be called Exploitation 101. You know, learning how to pitch, learning how to write taglines, learning how to sell the sizzle on your movie. There was Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney, and Conrad Ragzoff. But they were all stars who lived and died, but only one returned. The Horror Star. Pretty wicked. And this book is just full of gems like that. 2007. $123. Again, don't buy any of these because of what I think they're going to be worth in value. These are books I want in my collection that I want on my shelf. They're reference books. I learned so much from them. There's just so many different applications. So it's what makes book collecting fun. Alright, now this next one is a little bit variable because my copy is not. It's missing the dust cover and it's obviously used. It's from some kind of library. So on the low end it's not going to be worth as much, but on the top end, because of the rarity, 1975 first edition, hard copy, hardback, $148. Kings of the Bees, Charles Flynn, Todd McCarthy. Tells the story of Roger Corman, AIP, Doris Wishman, so many fantastic old school independent filmmakers. Not a lot of photos actually. I don't think there are. Yeah, there are a few photos. There are a few photos. This one is heavy on information. Heavy on reference material. Samuel Arkoff. Kings of the Bees, 1975 first edition. $148. Very cool book. It's actually one I just acquired just in the past few months. I haven't had a chance to read yet, so it's one I'm excited about getting around to. But right now I have a lot of darn script writing books I'm trying to get through because we have a lot of cool scripts that I'm working on. Insert plug for House at the Edge of Hell now. Speaking of the house at the edge of hell, let's talk about something that's probably one of its spiritual antecedents, the works of Lucio Fulci. Speaking of the Beyond and the Gates of Hell specifically, aka City of the Living Dead, both movies which are big influence on what I'm putting into the script for the House at the Edge of Hell. Which, mind you, my good friend Brento messaged me the other day and he said, hey, did you know that there was this movie called House on the Edge of Hell? And I said, yes, I had come across it before too. And I always Google search for my titles, so I look around out there to make sure that they're not taken. Like Ghost, for example, there was a lot of different iterations of that at one time. It all seems to make sense now, in hindsight, but originally we were going to try to call it stuff like Ghost Watchers or Ghost Watch or Ghost Keep, all kinds of combinations of ghost and some other action words. Funny stuff, but yeah, House at the Edge of Hell. I Googled it when I first came up with it. There was no House at the Edge of Hell, but there was a house on the edge of hell. And I thought, well, they're completely different. I wasn't influenced by it in any way. I came up with the title on my own, so yeah, I'm going to use it. Check that out. That's from the Beyond. I do believe that's Schweik. But this is number 1, Streebo's top 10 collectible horror reference books. Beyond Terror, the films of Lucio Fulci. This is the paperback edition. Now, the hardcover edition is worth a lot more, but at present, the lowest going rate for this book is $200 on Amazon. $200. I got lucky. I scored it for $40 off of eBay a few years back. When I got it, it had a cigarette smoke smell, but that's actually gone away over the years. Just having it out, it just kind of airs out and doesn't have that cigarette smoke smell anymore. So I paid $40 for it. Now it's a $200 book. Now, mind you, I don't like to pay, $30, $40, $50 for a book. So when I get one of these, it's usually like around Christmas. It's like my birthday money or my Christmas money or something. And it's like, ooh, I want to get something cool for myself. So what do? You either get a video game or you get a really cool reference book that you've had your eyes on for a long time. So I was lucky to score this baby. $200 right now. It's as cheap as you're going to find it. Full of fantastic photos. I gotta be careful what I show you in here. Covering Fulci's whole career. Valuable for that alone. You may not like the particular writing style of the book, like the way that the movies themselves are covered, because they're not really covered in depth. It's just kind of a history of Fulci's career in kind of a really cold way, but the reference photos are fantastic. I mean, because it's from everything. All of his work. City of Living Dead. Check that out. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So much to be gleaned for filmmakers just from that one image. Here on the opposite page, another haunting image. Now, I'll show you this at the top here, if I can get it close enough. Cover imagery. Oh, there's the one that CK and Uncle Bill use. City of Living Dead cover. There's another. This looks like an Italian version up there, or perhaps a Spanish version. Hell's Gate. Entrada al infierno. Very cool book. $200, mid-range $300, tops out right now at $400. It's a sweet, sweet little baby. Nope, there's another version of the New York Ripper that we saw on the. Oh, there's our friend the Glare. Another version of the New York Ripper that we saw on the cover of Legacy of Blood. Just great images all throughout. But we're going to cut it short because this video is running long, but hopefully you dug it. This has been a Collector's Corner with Streebo from Newtonville.com. Visit us there to find out everything you need to know about the world of horror, horror fandom, horror collecting and horror filmmaking. They're throwing some sci-fi and fantasy in there, and even superheroes too, and you've got MVP. We love it all. This is good stuff. I'm going to try to be back for Friday with a special Friday the 13th edition of Collector's Corner. I'm going to share some Friday the 13th centric collectibles. So, yeah. We'll be back then.
You're watching Mutant TV.